From another, we can find them from within.
So you're on Oneness Talk Radio with Thomas Ardavany and Suzanne Toro, and we're talking about self-observation now. And Suzanne being a to another episode of Oneness Talk Radio with Thomas Ardavany and Suzanne Toro. See, hello, Suzanne.
Hello, welcome to SolVibes and Indie Creators on Oneness Talk Radio.
There you go. Wow, that was kind of sexy. Hey, relax. Hey. Welcome to Oneness Talk Radio.
Oneness Talk Radio. We'll go into the virtual vortex and hopefully transform our negative emotions today, so we can be on the other side with our gatekeeper.
Wow, look at that. So there you go. She just introduced the show. That's what we got going on. Transformation of negative emotion, educating the look at this guy. Educating the gatekeeper. Educating the gatekeeper. Hi.
Educating the gatekeeper.
Hi.
Or the gatekeeper's educating us.
Yeah, we've got to teach our gatekeeper how to discipline itself to the point of transforming negative emotions. So that's a tall order.
It is a tall order.
That's a really tall order. That's not
Trust me, I know. I'm part Italian.
That's not
my ancestral heritage is to be hot-headed. So.
Yeah, I mean, but that's sort of the key to maintaining a certain level of consciousness, being, dignity, learning what the divine is as we move into the world in a real way.
I got a spot of tea with my ragu.
What was that?
My British.
Was that an attempt at Italian and British at the same time?
Yeah.
Good Lord. Don't the gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper.
We're assuming a couple of things. We're giving the audience the benefit of the doubt that they are, that you guys are conscious already. Because in order to even take on this heavy lifting of transforming negative emotions, we would have had to have educated our gatekeeper to such an extent that now it realizes that the environment is going to pose a challenge to your own personal consciousness. The environment's going to challenge you at some point. And if we're not diligent, if we're not monitoring where we are in time and space, we can become reactive and mechanical. So the idea is that, hey, if we get caught in a reactive mechanical mode, that as we feel that emotional surge move up inside of us in a reactive, reflective way, we can catch it and then exercise empathy in that moment, and then harness all of that energy that's shooting us up through the stratosphere, and shoot us up into the higher states of consciousness. Allow us to touch higher centers. Allow us to realize our potential in that moment, and then use that surge of intelligence to transform and harness the opportunity that normally we would have taken and allow it to distract or deflect us or eat at us or pull from our energy sources as opposed to add to our intelligence and our energy sources. So what do you think about that? That's pretty exciting, right?
It's very exciting.
Yeah, what are you doing over there? Stop playing.
I just was making the image larger and just got a little background noise for a moment.
Great. Little vanity going on there. She's got to see herself a little bigger on the screen.
Oh, I don't know how vain I am. I'm not very good at being vain.
You're so vain. Oh, you'd be surprised.
Carly
sure.
Simon. I'm not. Cosmic selfies, yes, but selfies, not so much. It's way too much work.
Wow, I can't seem to get this thing to cooperate with me.
So we have this opportunity to transform negative emotions in our dance of self-education and educating our highest self to strive for more.
Well, this is really the biggest challenge that we've taken on so far, because this is like serious work. And the nuance of how to navigate these deep waters and to get the most, there's benefits in deep waters. There's big fish in deep waters. And so there's a huge upside to having the ability to begin to take this on. You know, this is like a big deal. This is like the most exciting part. This is like where the payoff starts to happen, where all this being present and then observing oneself and then teaching oneself how to, re-perceive the environment in a healthier, more objective way, and then educating that gatekeeper to the point that it's not falling asleep every other minute, or it's not confused or doesn't know what its purpose is, or just doesn't lollygag off and have a beer and a smoke and fall asleep at the gates as everything else comes in. That gatekeeper is in shape in order to take this on. You need a strong gatekeeper to take this on. The gatekeeper is simply an educated aspect of yourself that has woken up to the idea of being conscious and has learned through experience what that's going to take and how to maintain
you're
one's
accessing your eternal being, the wise one within you. We all have the wise one in us. Some of our wise wisdom is a little bit more cultivated than others.
Okay. Well, some of our, there you go. Okay. Well, you got it. Some are wiser than others. Okay. Drop in the bucket. But that gatekeeper's got to be wide awake and fit and in shape and monitoring and has a good sense of what's good and what's bad and what to let in and what not to let in. Knowing that it's staying in shape because the world and life will challenge us. At some point, something's going to enter into it that we haven't perceived. And it may trigger an old habit, an old mechanical habit that will create a want to reflect and to respond to the energy. But through a discipline of to see somebody who's hurting, to observe somebody who's hurting, and to treat them in such a way as to want to help them as opposed to reactively banish them to heck, right? To crush them, to the eye for an eye mentality. We had that the other night, the eye for the eye song, right? And that's when it gets really cool, because now we're not reacting mechanically. Now we are reacting consciously. We are able to see that either somebody's mad, somebody's discouraged, somebody needs help, and we're not taking that personally. And it's in those moments that we see that we realize that we are evolving and our levels of being are elevating. But to catch that moment where you're most vulnerable and to be able to see through your most vulnerable moment and to actually get back into the present and take that shot of adrenaline, emotional life, and redirect it into the divine human that you are, allows for all sorts of epiphanies and all sorts of insights into yourself and into humanity, and then how you can fit into it and how you can navigate the tough spaces better.
With more awareness. Yeah.
What do you got to say about that?
Well, I would say you're right on, I was vacillating, I don't want to discourage anyone that's on a healing path, or they have a karma that they might be facing something in their physical body, because as we talked about a couple weeks ago, was that those signs in our physical body are imprints of past action, and sometimes we have those carryovers from the reincarnation model. So that, well-being is based on where you're at. So it's great to be healthy and well, and that can look different for everyone. In addition, this opportunity to be, aware of everyone, of yourself in a physical space, like the space we're in, and then saying, how can I serve it, is pretty exciting proposition. And that's a conscious awareness approach. Walking into a space and being oblivious to it around you and all those things is, less aware state of being, not considering. And we're not always able to be 100% aware, conscious in all moments, but the goal would be to sustain that effort and stay there.
Wow.
What?
Your bar is low.
What do you mean?
It's a low bar.
What's low about that, Thomas? The man that likes to cause trouble just for fun. What's low about that?
If a person is on the path of enlightenment, this is not a victim trail.
There's no victimhood
So
here.
the letting oneself off the hook, or making it easier, or making the landing softer, is.
No, I'm talking about someone that's conscious and aware in all moments. They walk into a space and they're aware of how they can assist that for the highest state of being for self and others. And it's not about letting them off the hook, but it's important. This is why in Buddhism and yoga and the Tao, they call this a practice, because it's not always one time out the gate and you're there. Clearly, that's not the case based on how our humanity is right now. So it's not to let self off the hook, but you keep striving for that and moving forward for sure. And it's exciting. You're in this space where you can bring conscious action into and see what happens. When you're at higher states of being, at places of bliss, you're shaping space, you're getting to experience unexplainable things. That's exciting, but it takes effort, as we've discussed, to stay there and to maintain there. So I think.
Well, keep in mind, we're talking about transforming negative emotions.
Of course.
So you're talking about, if somebody's in that area you're talking about, they don't have the ability to transform negative emotions.
I'm talking about the person that has the ability to transform negative emotions.
Hey, people, this is serious work. This isn't like, this is like heavy workout.
Yeah.
This is assuming that you're fit, you've been eating right, you've been sleeping right, your gatekeeper is awake, you're doing all the things that you need to do to stay on top of your game. You want to start rolling over these conscious efforts from one day into the next, as opposed to now we're past having just a few minutes of conscientious effort to a few hours of conscientious effort. Now we're starting to rest instead of sleep, and now the gatekeeper's gotten to the point where it's awake. And now the world can be used, the conscious negativity, and to be able to transform that negativity would be a conscious shock, a wake-up call, or more energy coming in order to sharpen your knife on, like the world being a whetstone, and you go out into it, and whatever comes your way, you're able to see it in a way that elevates your intelligence and allows you to continue to see the world in a certain way. So this is like heavy. This is like an athlete being in shape, and you can be a conscious warrior, and not and play that inner game. So this is the inner game of how I am in relation to the world around me, and how do I use it to make myself better.
You're a superhero.
You're a superhero. You're a superhero.
Exactly. You're the samurai transforming.
Well, the difference between a samurai is if he blinks and he doesn't assess the situation properly, he'll die. So the idea is for the samurai is to stay alive under the most extraordinary of circumstances. And in that, that's where the consciousness pays off, to be able to feel and sense energy, and to be able to adapt and kind of have a sense of what's coming at you in order to survive. And that's what we want. We want that conscientious effort. We want that ability to adapt, like that samurai, as he stays alive. And so what's cool is that you can look at this cultivated energy, this this cultivated integrity inside the body, as the basis on which you will navigate the world and become stronger as you navigate. Because there's not a question for you as to what's right, what's wrong, what you need to do in order to keep, how you need to perceive the world in order to use it to continue to understand deeper and deeper realms and different aspects of the world around you. In order for what reason? There is a reason. There is a material reason as to why we would need and want to begin to transform negative emotions, other than the fact that it empowers us in such a way and allows us to be in service in such a way. Other than that side benefit, we begin to cultivate and energize ourselves, and our energy fields begin to extend from our bodies, and we begin to navigate the world by energy and through emotional context, through being able to sense energies. And so as we transform these negative emotions and strengthen our bodies, and as our auras begin to extend from our bodies, we begin to have a sensory experience of the world around us. It's not an analytical one anymore. Now it's one that we're navigating with the truth of the moment as to what's coming at us. We're able to start to sense all sorts of different energies around us. And some people can talk and walk to the animals. You get a Dr. Dolittle who can walk and talk and squawk with the animals. You start to get a higher realm teacher. That individual starts to become a leader in such a way that them just walking into the room elevates the level of consciousness with all that are within the room. So there's a reason that we need to be able to do this, because without being able to do this, we will never really be able to discover the next awesome steps that happen after we have the ability to sense and transform these negative emotions. Negative emotions are being hit with mechanical energy, and then being able to drive it up and through the cranium, and to be able to tap into a superpower. Superman. Start to become Superman at this point. X-ray vision, extrasensory perception. ESP becomes pretty much your go-to. It's not a theory any longer. It's something that you're exercising. Seemingly becomes an extrasensory perception, because your energy field is emanating and growing from your body. And this is cool, because now it's becoming metaphysical. But at this point, it starts to become metaphysical, becomes super physical, becomes super physiological, becomes a really cool game of survival. And how long can I maintain that responsibility? How long can I stay that high in the mountain as I get occasionally bombarded with something that may challenge me? And if I don't understand it, I'll take a tumble down the mountain. But because I've made my way up to that mountain 1,000 times before I know the way, but I don't want to go tumbling. I want to transform and take the next step, like a good video game.
So the next level.
To get to the next level. Get to the next level, baby. And it gets a little bit trickier, but if you've honed your skills up to that point and you have a sense of what might be coming, you'll be able to be prepared, right?
Absolutely.
And so this is the work of an individual on a certain level of being that has earned it through being present, self-observing, educating the gatekeeper, and now the gatekeeper has a new trick. Ha! Not just turning away what comes to the door, but now looking to see what comes to the door and using it to transform and strengthen. Strengthen it. You're strengthening beyond. Woohoo! Fun, right? Are we having fun yet? I mean, this is the big payoff. I mean, that's the fun part, right?
Well,
are you having fun yet?
It's ultimately you're being of service to others. When you're
God, there's that word again, service. Susanna says service, like service.
Well, if you read my book, you would know why.
That's right. She has a book, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, Bare Naked Bliss, and it's a book about what? Where can we buy
Loving
it?
for
Amazon,
Living,
right? It's
Amazon.
total Amazon. How much is it?
It's I think $11.95 on Amazon. I'm not sure what the current price is today.
$11.95. That's a cheap. What a deal. What a bargain. And
So
we
if
talked
you
about
read
this
the book,
you're talking about if you're a writer, you're certainly in a condition
So
of
if you read-
self-observation, right?
yeah.
A great writer definitely has the ability to transform negative emotions, even if it's and he takes those lessons and those observations and puts them into his characters.
Yeah, well, life is one giant story, right? That we've co-created.
Is it?
It is. So, yes, it's exciting to move into these higher states of consciousness and awareness. And the reason I use service is because ultimately, if you're taking on negativity, anything positive, negative, and transforming it for the greater good, one, it relieves others, which is nice. And then number two, it juices you up. So that's exciting, and that's a great way. That's being of service for sure. So I don't recommend for any of the listeners out there, if you're not really understand what that means to convert energy, that you just go out there and start taking on everyone's negativity and try to transform it. It's important you have practice for sure, or understand what the method is.
What's the method? We know the method. We're teaching the method. Are you not giving them the keys to the method?
Well, it's different for everyone.
It is.
I think. Well, it's what you just described one method, and I would describe another, which deals with a different energy center in the body versus the crown. Going to the crown is a great vehicle to transform. That's what we use in death to transform a lot through the crown and out. But you can
That's not through the crown and out. It's through your perception into the middle of a rocket taking off, and then directing that rocket in mid-flight to go in a particular direction that's going to allow you to get through that stratosphere.
Right.
Allow you to get to that 24,000 whatever, 142 miles an hour that you need to have in order to get through the stratosphere.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a good way to look at it too. I mean, it's a great way to look at it, because you need a certain velocity in order to get into that next realm of consciousness that doesn't operate with as many rules. It's a freer, more liberal place to be, because you're operating from a divine place. The inertia, there's not so much inertia at that next level. Space is less resistant.
It's like the tree to the top of the tree to the sun. You're working in that space versus in the tree.
Top of the tree to the sun?
Yeah.
What is that?
That's where the energy extends beyond. So, yeah, so that's a beautiful analogy of kind of to give people the mechanics of what energetically in your electromagnetic system is going on, and how powerful it is to do that. In addition, to, like I said, make sure that you're in a stable, grounded space to do that. You don't take it on unnecessarily if you're not there. That's all I was trying to state.
Well, if you're not where? There.
If you're not strong and solid and grounded in that space, it could be dangerous if all of a sudden you start trying to take stuff on because you think your superhero is ready to put on its cape. That's the honesty. But you'll know when you're there. I think we all know when we're there.
Oh, well, I mean, I would hope that.
I can use.
I mean, it's not. You don't have to hope if you're there. You're either a miserable failure at this.
No, when you're there.
And you keep coming back to the present, and you keep self-observing, and you keep trying to navigate the space, and then you start breaking through into new realms of understanding of the world around you. And then, once those internal muscles get strong enough, now transforming negativity truthfully, not denying, not pushing away. I mean, I've seen so many people, think that, just remaining calm and breathe and don't, offend somebody. And they start to retract, thinking that to be passive in a active situation is the way to get the most out of it. No. you can actually stay equally as active and perceive it in such a way where you're able to, boom, shoot yourself up, not become passive or retractive or fearful, but to be appropriately assertive under any given circumstances, because now you have this wonderful divine human being speaking for you out in front of you, and that's you. The things that you say, the things that you do, the spontaneous, beautiful things that can happen between you and another person. I mean, it's just like, that's super empowering. That's all I gotta say. That's why that's why this work is so valuable to do.
Well, it'll be important we go into ethics too. Probably in our another show. At some point when you're awakening and engaging with your gatekeeper, there's a, on the other side of this gate, there is divine energy, but there are some self-regulating things that keep you in that space, or you'll go down the mountain for sure.
Go down the mountain. You'll
Quickly.
be going
You'll be
down
ejected.
the mountain when you go. You'll be going down the mountain when you go.
You'll be ejected.
You'll be going down the mountain. You'll be going down that mountain. You'll be going down the mountain as you go.
Absolutely.
If you don't get it right, you are screwed. If you don't get it right, you are screwed. That's the beautiful thing about consciousness, too, is that, well, I'm talking too loud, busting through my red zone here, I'm peeking. But you're not allowed to go on unless you're prepared. And there's a wonderful reap-sow perspective on consciousness, because you're not going to be allowed to go on until you're strong enough. And if you mess up in the higher realms, you'll be immediately knocked down to the next realm. And so there's no mercy as far as consciousness goes, and there's a really good reason for that. I mean, think about the level of evil that can be conducted if you're able to be disingenuous or ill-intentioned with all of that power. And so I don't think God would allow it personally, and it's just not. God's just not going to allow it. And it's just like, and that's beautiful. And you can try it. I mean, you can test fate. But the beautiful thing is that
well, there's a lot of evil on this planet, so I don't know if there's a lot of people using basic science to create evil on this planet.
Well, but the thing is they are not greater than the divine human who can actually see through that, and they're limited. They're limited in relation to that divine human.
Of course, and that's why they those entities and beings don't like being around certain levels of consciousness, and they will try to extinguish it. Yet that's not possible.
What are you like? You're like talking riddles now. You're like riddle talking. You're like.
So for the listeners, you're here transforming negative energy. If you're around any Sith overlords, they might get a little cranky at you. But don't go into fear. No. Shine your bright light and take off like a rocket ship. So, for certain. But, the energy's energy. So that's why I kind of avoid those words bad, good. When we're working with energy in such a way, it doesn't have an opinion so much as the truth will be known by the effect of what you do with it. So that's the reality of it. So even if you become what we call in shamanic practice or Native American practice a trickster, and you can actually go into some of these realms and transform that energy, you will be held accountable at some point in time, and so, or some moment in space. So there's no freebies, there's no free energy. Everything that we harness, everything that we receive and decide to transform or do whatever, there is an effect with that. Well,
that's what I'm saying. You're not going to, I mean, the trickster's going to be seen and overseen by somebody who's not in that darker realm, or who's got a fly in the ointment, or who has crystallized in a way that will not allow them to go any further based on their ideology or their beliefs. Like the dark arts have a limit to them, and the limit is that anybody that's in the light arts can crush them and see right through what they're doing and predict their behaviors, because the dark arts are predictable and dark and run on a basis of, yes, consciousness is the basis, and yes, we will manipulate nature through our ill intent, but that's such a transparent act to somebody who's not that way, who is conscious, and then can see through that, and then if they do have a warrior mentality, we'll cut it off. We'll cut the head off in order to, have mercy on them and have mercy on the people that they're taking advantage of.
Well, there are thresholds and there's veils. So sometimes, learning right now as a society, we're really learning what it is has meant to be in dance with the coyote and the trickster. And some people are seeing, others are not. And so it's a powerful time. That veil has been dropping, and it's a beautiful time to harness, your higher states of being and exercise yourself in a way that you can elevate versus being brought down with a trickster. There's so much polarity right now, which exists, like tension is there. That's how the whole universe is constructed. But there's this opportunity to use that polarity and that tension to propel ourselves in greater states of awareness to be of service to ourselves and others.
Well, there you go. Well said. Well said, Suzanne.
Yeah. Suzanne. You sound like my brother. That's how I used to say it.
Suzanne.
Suzanne
sounds like Shazam.
Yeah, Shazam. That was one of my code names as a kid.
Shazam, Suzanne. So transforming negativity is not just being positive. It's about capturing yourself in the moment, confronted with energy, driving directly towards your emotional core, and you being able to, as opposed to reflect that spontaneously, to be able to take it, transform it, and then run it through higher centers, higher intellectual centers, higher emotional centers, and transform that energy, harnessing this potential rocket ship of energy that would have just been used to destroy. Now you're using it to evolve.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm glad you brought up that word of just positivity or happiness. Most of the, I'll call them badass shamans that I know, and elders and leaders, they're like so still in a way that, they don't go around like whistling Dixie and spraying sunshine up everyone's backside. They're very discerning. They're navigating the energy. They're feeling into the energy. Some people they won't even bother engaging with. Even one of Zen master that I've studied with, he won't even bother acknowledging certain people that he sees their afflictions. So apparently it's like, I have nothing to offer him. And even some of the powerful Chinese doctors will say, I need to sleep on this for about a week before I engage. And that's because those people are at the base of the mountain or maybe in the middle of the mountain. They're not past the gate with their gatekeeper.
Which people are they talking about?
Some of them might come to them for help. Certain adepts.
Right.
They need them to be through the gate before they can work with them.
Boo. That's a weak adept.
No, if you only have so much time.
No, the adept is looking for a challenge, and the job of the adept is to actually elevate their consciousness with their simple presence, and then go about teaching the lessons that allow them to do what? Learn how to be present. Learn the beauty and the stillness of alignment. Learn what? Observation. Learn to cultivate those. Learn to develop a gatekeeper. Go do that work, and then come back to me once you feel.
It's not to say they wouldn't engage.
Once you feel, come back to me once you feel. But my job is to take that person on that journey and to give them the lessons that they need to begin their journey. And that's a beautiful beginning. I mean, that's to me that's what an adept does. To me that's what I have to do with my clients. They come to me as aspiring actors and artists. They have to learn everything we just talked about. They have to learn.
I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying some people aren't ready.
They have to start to relearn them. Some people that aren't ready are not in this conversation.
Yeah. Well, I'm just
people that are not ready are not in this conversation. Who cares about them? we care
Right.
about the people that are embarking on a journey,
Yeah.
or want the information, or striving for direction. If somebody doesn't want it, I mean, that's okay. I mean, life is not going to abandon them, and the lessons are always abundant. So, to them, life is the teacher, and life is always the teacher. I think it doesn't matter if you find somebody to talk to that you click with, or not. I think the beauty of being faced with is there, and if they are in your presence, they somehow arrive there. And in that moment, there's an assessment and an understanding immediately of what's needed.
Well, sometimes what's needed
Right.
is to send them someplace else, and that's a true reality,
Okay.
especially with.
You send them my direction. I know exactly how to get them off on the right foot.
Well,
But
good for you if
but
that's
then
your
again,
role.
that right foot is a simple foot for an adept to
I'm talking about people that
direct.
are very clairvoyant,
To direct.
are very clairvoyant, can see into a quantum field in a way that they know whether their purpose is to be there with them or not, and so they make that choice. They don't have "I can save all" mentality or help all. They know they have very specific places to be and people to serve.
Well, listen. How difficult is it really? I mean, we're assuming that you're a half adept because this is what you do every day. You help people every single day. I mean, unless somebody is completely off their rocker and they're schizophrenic and they haven't taken their meds, there's something that you can contribute to them.
Of course.
Right?
I was using the example. These are like the last traditional elders of planet Earth. They, it's like going to the Dalai Lama.
Look, if
and
they're too old to help and they don't want to help, F them.
They're not
Let
old.
them be elders and let them go off into the
They're
freaking
not
sunset.
old. I'm bringing them up, or very wise Chinese doctors you're going to find in the mountains.
I've met these guys that bail on people.
Yeah.
It's really impressive, and they make a lot of money.
They don't make any. I'm not
saying that they're so good at this and so good at that.
These aren't people that take money.
Yeah, and
They don't take money.
And they're very famous too.
No, this isn't famous people or people that take money.
What are you talking about?
So they're very skilled. Yeah, they're very skilled.
All right, I'm gonna stop hitting on lazy indigenous adepts.
They're not lazy.
What do you mean?
They're the hardest workers ever. Like, they'll sit and go through ceremonies and get up and work in their community and farm.
All right, then who's not to help? Then those people have the insight to help, and that's the role of an adept, is to.
If someone's super afflicted, if they're possessed, if they have so many addictions,
if
afflictions, and all that stuff, they're not going to be ready.
Why not? If they're possessed, perform an exorcism. If they're addicted, let them use their addiction as a transformative tool to develop the will that they need to develop the gatekeeper. And a person that's addicted has to develop a gatekeeper in order to discern, make decisions.
My point is, we all have different roles to serve people. It's great, Thomas. You wanted to walk them from start to finish. That's fantastic.
No, I don't want to walk anybody from start to finish. Whether I can walk somebody, it's up to somebody else if they feel that sort of a road is for them as they begin to navigate and explore. It really always comes down to the person. But gosh, to be able to point in the direction somebody needs to go is easy.
Yeah, I'm not saying they don't do that. I was just using it as an example. So let's get back. We diverged.
We have it on the videotape that you said that they would just send them on their way because they were only ready. They want to take people that are just ready.
I'll give you an example. Very traditional ceremonies. People come up completely oblivious to how it's appropriate for them to show up in those ceremonies. Those elders don't have time for that. They're not there to train people how to dress or how to be appropriate in a very sacred space. And so they'll have nothing to do with those people. They don't want anything to do with those people because they're not self-aware. They didn't take the time to even just learn courtesy or protocol, because those are sacred spaces. The set and setting, like in a medicine ceremony or sweat lodge, is so dependent on the set and setting. So with self-awareness, we can enter any space and bring a level of sacredness and divinity to it and like you said, extend our aura bodies and really feel into what's in the space. It's a much more raw space, but you know, there's you know, if someone's helping you, it just depends. There's so many variables. It's not a one size fits
Hey,
all.
all I know is when I first started going to karate at 21 years old, I was shown how to walk into the dojo. I was shown where to take my shoes off. I was shown where the altar was. I was shown how to bow. I was shown how to when to work my way into a kata. I was shown all of these things.
They'll tell you to leave the room, come back in. It's like that, leave the room. And they do it enough times and they don't like get it. It's like, okay, can you just come back another day? Go think about how you enter the room.
Whatever.
So you know.
What kind of a conversation are we having?
I don't know. We're in a circle. So let's go
You keep making excuses for these lazy elders.
They're not lazy, and I would be careful what you say. Oh my goodness. Talk about karma. So, abracadabra, you're very powerful with your words. So if we're in this place, and we're really excited to be in this place because we can harness some of our extra skills that we're all equipped to have, but we have to put effort there to work for them. And so that's super exciting, and it does take discipline and practice and well-being, and it is a conscious choice to be there. You know, anyone can get, I'm just using the collective we, but anyone has to want to be in that space, and they have to want to stay in that space to continue to see where it goes.
The problem is the have to want to be is somebody else's expectation, somebody else's requirement. And so when you're talking about the journey of the soul, only the expectations and the requirement marginalize and limit an individual's who's on a journey that doesn't know what steps to take. So the expectations and the requirements actually need to go by the wayside, and the examples before them need to be set. And it's through those examples that questions arise. And then it's through those questions and simple loving directives that people find their way.
Loving directives. All righty.
That's how it works. It has to certainly start off loving directive, because life isn't always so friendly, right?
Yeah. So for the listeners out there, if you're curious what we've been talking
from another,
about,
we can find them from within.
sidetrack to the elders.
So you're on Oneness
out
Talk
there.
Radio with Thomas Ardavany
And
and
thank you,
Suzanne
elders, for
Toro,
all
and
you
we're
do
talking
for all
about
of us.
self-observation
Thank
now.
you so much.
And
I appreciate you.
Suzanne,
If you're inspired to move into this space with yourself, and there are no expectations, it's just a self-initiated decision to really engage your gatekeeper and then move into the space where you're ready to transform negative emotions. That starts with you and then extends beyond. And that's the
Talking to
empowering
the
part.
audience, talking directly to
Yeah, I
them.
am.
Good, very good job.
So that's kind of exciting. So from there, I don't know if we want to go into, what might eject them from that space, or
What ejects the person from the space is the getting pulled into the mechanical aspect of it and getting caught in it and then being reactive in it and then not catching yourself before all of that wonderful energy gets squandered and blown in another direction. And then what you're left with is like, oh my goodness, I missed such an awesome opportunity. I have to stay ready. I have to be ready for the next one. I have to collect myself, and then if I've caused damage, to use that opportunity to go heal that situation and approach it with fresh eyes and try to do the work I didn't do in the moment. See, that's like catching up to it. But there's not as much benefit in the catching up to it as there is in that initial opportunity that life served up for us in order to take it and transform it into something awesome and then drive it up in those higher centers so we have a fresh insight into the magic of this world. That's what's so darn cool about all of that.
Yeah.
It's really exciting, actually.
It is exciting. Yeah, and if you can be inspired to be in that space, it's exciting. But the self-correction is really powerful, and even in the reflection of, whoa, I wasn't ready. You get a chance. It's like being on the wrestling mat, or, you get the opportunity. You're not gonna. The universe will yield it for you again. So that's the exciting part. You don't just get one chance. You get the opportunity to keep practicing.
Yes, but the acceptance at a certain level, and the space to mess up is not as forgiving. The slip is further. The cliff is steeper. The fall can be more dramatic if it's a sustained fall. It's just not a momentary slip, but an immersion into a mess where it may last 2 or 3 days, and then all of your integrity gets blown right out of the window, and you're left raw and tired and laying there on the riverbank, bleeding and bloody, having to pick yourself up and go, oh my goodness, what did I just do? And then, climb yourself back up onto your feet and then try to assess what just happened and go, wow, I did that. And so when confronted with that, I have to be this way. I have to adapt that way. I can't allow myself to be pulled into such a mess.
Or potentially created the mess, and the mess exploded. So, karma, the cause and effect, sometimes it's the effects that erupt in a moment that create that mess. It's not so much your reactivity to it. It might be, oh, wow, I laid that bed, and now I have to lay in it. So, that's the beautiful thing about cause and effect is, the sooner we realize that we have the opportunity to deposit in our bank account, if our efforts are always there, you're not going to have too many thorny beds to reconcile. But if you choose not to do that, then more than likely the effects will come up, and it's an opportunity to reconcile it all. And you can do that with grace. Sometimes it may not be easy at first, but there's a lot of value to realizing, what is happening, and sometimes it takes a moment, and that's okay. You can pause, you can breathe.
It may be okay. It may be. It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of just understanding the strength of the understanding of the present, the balance between the organism and the earth, and then the ability to relearn oneself from an objective perspective, strengthen the gatekeeper, and then moving into greater challenges, looking for conscious shocks. Even let's say you live in Iowa or something, and the only thing that's going to shock you is I don't know, a bear or something that meanders out of the woods and scares you or something. Then how you are in that space would be your conscious shock. So if all you got is not much of an environment that challenges you for whatever the reason, you're looking to create conscious shocks, which are basically any sport you may endeavor into, any group you may endeavor into, financial goals you'd like to reach, artistic goals you'd like to reach, and it's in these pursuits that we begin to sharpen our skills, or maybe it's martial arts, or maybe it's just, joining the police force, becoming a first responder, deciding to go back to college, where there are expectations and requirements put upon us, and then how we perceive those expectations and requirements not as stress but as opportunity. And that's creating a conscious, that's looking for an opportunity to test oneself.
Well, of course, and
that's where this whole game gets good now. You've gone from, like, if you were ever a victim, you're not in a victim mentality anymore. Now you're in, like, a hunt mentality, where you're looking for opportunities to refine and test yourself.
Well, pretty much you can go outside and find it anywhere you want at this point in time.
Oh, you can use your body. You can just try to do 100 push-ups.
Yeah, of course. And then there's, some of these conscious shocks, as you would say, are ones that can happen in a metaphysical way, and those take you to places where they give you a huge perspective, especially when you reintegrate that into the physical realm.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. And then we're going to get into this. We're going to get into how to, once you get to that level of being, how to navigate that space, how to intrigue one's mind to stay in that present space and to understand nature and how to perceive nature and the laws of physics that are unfolding before your very eyes, and to let this, and it's a beautiful thing that starts to happen, is that life becomes a constant learning curve. It's like there's not a moment, a breath that you can take where you're not realizing that you're stepping into a new world every breath that you take. And how you're perceiving it allows you this scientific, metaphysical understanding, this magical understanding of the world around you. And at that point, you start to understand where our math comes from, where our physics comes from, where all our sciences come from. It comes from the minds of people that have stepped into this realm and have been able to get it down on paper and solve problems. And then you start to realize, wow, if I'm going to be a really good doctor, if I'm going to be a really good scientist, I have to exist in this space. I have to be conscious to this point in order to understand how to push the parameters of humanity into new realms of understanding and opportunity. And that's fun, because when you start hitting there, you're beginning to express your original self. And from that original self, however it's expressed through your art, through your music, through your sciences, through your lawyering, through your politics, through your policing, through your governing, through being a parent, through serving your community, that community then becomes really, really lucky, because at that point you are an absolute asset and can be trusted. And that's a big word. That's a big word. People begin to trust you once you exist in that space. And that's a natural, innate, natural privilege that you're being given because of how you are. And there's no greater compliment than that, in my opinion. That's where I want to be. I want to be where people can trust in the work that I do, and to understand that I'm open and capable of bringing them whatever it is that they want to get.
Wow, that's beautiful, Tom.
That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be when I grow up.
You want your Superman cape.
Well, I don't know. Is the Superman cape relative to Superman? Probably not. It's just a cape that he puts on.
It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor.
It's a necessity.
It's a metaphor.
It's a necessity. He's got to put it on. To him, it's nothing, but to somebody else, it might mean everything.
Yeah, it's a costume.
There's great people out there. I mean, you can come into their presence, and you can just being in their presence going to bring a tear to your eye, and they'll be like, "What are you crying about?" It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful being a human. Look at you. You're like, what? I'm just sitting here doing my work. You know, and that's a lot of performing artists get that. Performing artists can be beside themselves in terms of the reaction that they're getting from their audience, because they're not a part of the experience of them at their finest.
Right.
And it can be like that for an athlete too. Like an athlete, what do you mean? What are you so impressed about? I'm just out here trying to do my work.
Well,
but in their work, they've been driven to such an extreme that their levels of being are very high due to their repetition and their constant effort and their discipline, which ultimately gives them freedom within whatever they're doing. And we marvel at that and admire that, and give them the kudos that they deserve to existing in that space, to showing us what God is in a physical form, in moments. That's really, 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 really cool. And that's what we have waiting for us at the other end of transforming negative emotions, because at that point we're becoming really, really close to realizing our potential in who we are in this time and space. And that's really cool. If you ask me, I would want to strive at. That's my goal. If you ask me where my work is, that's where I'm trying to go. I'm trying to go there so I can be effective and responsible, and feel what that feeling is to be a whole human being involved in something that serves, and that's an innate gift from endeavoring and closing in on higher states of consciousness and popping through occasionally and getting a glimpse as to what I could be, and in those moments I'm awake to what everybody can be, not only myself but everybody. And there's a lot of really wonderful people out there that have figured it out, Lots of great teaching. So much information on the internet. So many great practices from the Buddhism, the Muslims, the Christians, and the Zen people, and the Native Americans, and what other, there's 230 plus religions here in the United States. All of those religions hopefully set up to help us realize our potential in this time and space and to serve our communities in a positive way. But what's cool is that genius always walks by us, and really what we're doing here is clearing a way for that innate genius within us to show up. And that's what this is all about. That's what Oneness Talk Radio is about. We're trying to get out of our own way to let this divine aspect of ourselves shine.
Buddha's in all of us, as the Buddhists would say.
The Buddha's in all of us. Well, we have like
Yeah.
4 minutes left.
4 minutes. Wow, that went fast.
Transforming negativity, baby.
Transforming
Transforming.
negative.
I
Let's
feel
do
better.
it.
I feel like
good.
I feel like
We're
I feel like
juiced
I
up.
got
We got through the sludge of karma. It's much better on this side of the gate. So, well, to recap, as inspired, bring yourself into the present moment, and hopefully you were able to take the space to do that with Thomas and I. Then keep taking those photographs, even if you're on the other side of the gate. You'll more than likely might be taking a couple or not. And then from there, get really engaged with your gatekeeper. Make sure your gatekeeper's awoken. And from there, then on that other side, you get to start to transform energy, negative emotions. Also, you can amplify, which we didn't talk much about, but maybe we will next time. You can amplify positive energy fields, ones that are in forward motion, which is super exciting. Sprinkle that happy dust everywhere. Positivity, not positivity, but juice everywhere. That essence everywhere, which is nice.
Juice and essence. She's got to get all, what is it, juicy and essency.
Yeah, it's a unexplainable exchange at that point. So, I guess we moved. Thank you, Mr. Ardavany. So this is, anything else, Thomas? Are we ready? And just for everyone, we're here on Oneness Talk Radio. We really appreciate being here. There's lots of great programs on this station, and so check it out. And then we'll be here weekly with these talks as we take you on a journey a little deeper into your higher states of being. And then who knows where else we might go. It's a lot of fun.
Well, hopefully we go to the next level. Hopefully we all materialize and turn into spirits right before your eyes. But if we really
Vaporize.
if we really do the work, if we're actually really doing the work, then we'll be able to start communicating the next level of nuance of these journeys, and to remind you guys of the fundamentals, the basics that allow for these doors to open in order for us to get out of our own way, and to begin to build upon the things that allow us to realize our potential, to build beyond our bodies, to build energetic understandings, and to influence and to serve and to honor our divine self. Yeah. Well, the serve is a natural inclination.
Absolutely.
That occurs when you've evolved to a certain point. So it doesn't have to be a force. Like, you don't have to go out and try to do this.
Mm-hmm.
When you are on the path long enough, your innate sense of yourself will want to figure out how to do that, because you'll realize, hey, I understand. I have more empathy for my fellow human. I see what they need. I understand how to help. And your creative mind will go to work and solve all those problems, and that's really beautiful. That transcends any cultural boundaries, any pigment boundaries. It's
beyond body.
It's beyond body. So consciousness is for all of us. It knows no neighborhood.
Borders, no
boundaries. The only boundaries and borders are the ones that we're enslaving ourselves to and limiting ourselves to. So it's important to understand this universal cord that strings us all together, and it has nothing to do with any of this periphery garbage. Well, here we go. There
Here
you
we
go.
go.
1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. So
All right, well,
we're
so
going out.
next we're going to dive in just for a teaser.
Yeah.
Where are we going to go? You want to go into ethics or a little deeper into...
Ethics would, I would go to sleep and hate it. So that would, really the...
We can make them fun.
Really, I don't even know what ethics are. I have no ethics.
Maybe we should go over it.
The next step to transforming a negative emotion is understanding how to cultivate these finer substances and how to make certain types of efforts that allow you to strengthen that muscle to transform negativity. And we'll go back over the basics, but also we'll move into the mystical aspects of it and give you something to look forward to relative to harnessing your powers, your energetic powers, and understanding what that means and how to begin to cultivate and think that way, how to move this from self-observation into self-realization, which is the skill that you need in order to transform negativity. So we went to that. So self-realization and how to pay
That's kind of
attention.
happening simultaneously, those ahas.
Yeah, well, it's a sort of a build from a self-observation, which is the basis of self-realization, and then into self-realization, but what that means and how to direct your attention in such a way to get a taste of what that might mean. And that's really exciting.
Yeah, all right.
Talk about that all day long. All right, well, here we go. We're going out with some music. Here we go. Take care. Bye.
Ciao.
From another, we can find them from within.
So you're on Oneness Talk Radio with Ardavany and Suzanne Toro, and we're talking about self-observation now.